Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Cedar Falls Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for February 23rd, 2022. You can join us tonight in person and many versions of electronic. All those instructions are on the website. With that, we'll call the meeting to order, and I would entertain, we're going to do a roll call vote, probably.
Chrisman? Here. Grievovich? Hartley?
Here.
Holst? Larson? Leeper?
Here.
Lynch?
Here.
Moser? Here. Saul?
Here.
All right, we have a quorum. Thank you, Karen. With that, we'll call the meeting to order, and I would entertain a motion to approve the February 9th, 2022 minutes.
So moved. Second.
So moved in second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. With that, we'll move on to the public comments section of the meeting. This is for items that are not on the agenda tonight. So if there's anyone that would like to speak on items that are not on the agenda, now's the time. Anyone online? We have no hands raised online. So we have no old business tonight. So we'll move to new business. The first item is a site plan review for 3717 Midway Drive. And Michelle, I think you're going to introduce this item?
I am. Let me grab the microphone for everyone who has a chance to hear me. All right. So we're reviewing a commercial site plan at 3717 Midway Drive. The property is south of University Avenue and east of the city limits, and also east of Cedar Heights Drive. So normally we don't see site plan reviews, commercial site plan reviews come before the Planning and Zoning Commission within the C2 district. However, within the allowed uses under 26-171 in the C2 district, it says mini storage is reviewed by the Planning and Zoning Commission and the City Council. So that's why we're here tonight. The applicant proposes to take an existing building that is currently a car wash. The building itself is 2 feet from the southern property line and 15.5 feet from the northern property line. The site itself has a one-way traffic flow. And those were some of the concerns that they had to work around. The setbacks are non-conforming and pre-existing. So the proposed conditions for this, the applicant proposes a new addition on the rear or the western elevation of the site and proposes 30 storage units total. He proposes to have the rear to be just for private use only, so it'd be only traffic for the use of the management, and the parking would go in the front, and all the clients would use the building from the front towards Midway Drive. They're proposing additional landscaping along the northern property line, and then they're also improving the stormwater, which the stormwater is pre-existing as well, and goes to a private stormwater pipe, and they're proposing riprap and additional landscaping, mostly grass, to help slow the water down and clean it while it gets into the private stormwater. The applicant proposes to use a complementary brick to enclose the front bays and add windows as well. And the applicant also proposes to add a gable in the front to tie the new addition to the existing structure. And with that, staff recommends approval of the application subject to direction and any comments from the Planning and Zoning Commission and making sure it conforms to all the city code requirements. And with that, I conclude my presentation and I'm available for any questions.
All right. Thank you, Michelle. Any questions for Michelle right away? Okay. Anyone from the applicant that would like to speak to the item? Could you give your name and address, please?
Sure. Gordy Sorensen. Address is 1426 Lilac Lane in Cedar Falls, temporarily. This project is currently a car wash, and our idea is to add an addition on the back, have climate-controlled storage out of it. There is a small shop in the back that'll be for our private use and just parking of a couple job trailers and that kind of thing back there. So, anybody has any questions on it? It's currently already zoned commercial. It's just that we have to go through this process because of it's becoming storage, I guess. So.
Right. Any questions for the applicant?
No.
All right, thank you, Gordy. With that, anyone from the public that would like to speak to this item? Anyone online? Nobody online. All right, with that, we'll bring it back to the commission for comments.
I think it's a pretty plain request, and I would move that we approve it. Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any comments?
I think it's great to reuse the building. That's nice instead of tearing it down, building a new one. That's very good use.
Certainly the most sustainable thing we can do, so.
Yeah, and definitely improve the look of the existing building, so
Exactly.
definitely an improvement.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Roll call vote?
Okay, Chrisman,
Aye.
Hartley,
Aye.
Holst. Oh, sorry, not here. Leeper,
Aye.
Lynch,
Aye.
Moser,
Aye.
Saul.
Aye.
All right, that item moves forward to the city council, the next meeting. Our next item of new business is a zoning text amendment for daycare uses in the M1 Light Industrial District. And Karen, you're gonna kick this off?
Yes. So the city received an inquiry a few weeks back regarding an expansion of a daycare center that's currently in existence in the M1 Light Industrial District on Nordic Drive. After some investigation, it was recognized that the building was constructed in 1999, but the daycare was established, sometime shortly thereafter. However, daycare uses are not an allowed use in the M1 district. So it's hard to tell how that got established, 20 years ago. It's not certain how that happened, but so they approached the city to find out if there's some way to allow them to expand and continue to operate in that location, since it had not been an issue these 20 years. So looking at changing the zoning code to allow daycare uses in the light industrial district, one thing to note is that there is a real critical need in the community right now for daycare services. And of course, our industrial park, our technology park is a large employment center for the city. And so it's good to have daycare centers located close to where employment is to reduce vehicle miles traveled and also make much more flexibility for employees and employers for that critical service. So looking at the zoning itself, back in early zoning, there was often an emphasis on separating incompatible uses, and industrial uses were often kind of dirty uses and thought of as dirty uses, and so would be separated from residential and daycare and those kinds of uses. So I guess the question is now, is there really a need to separate this use in the Cedar Falls light industrial zones? Just so a couple things to note. The light industrial zone allows a variety of uses where people are likely to bring their children already, because it allows lots of commercial uses, retail, fitness centers, restaurants. The zone does allow quite a variety of uses, not just industrial uses already. It is listed as a light industrial zone, so really intended for clean industry. In fact, there's a standard in the code that indicates that if there are any kind of nuisance effects from industry, that the city and citizens would have the right to ask that to be discontinued. So there is quite a bit of control, and it's really intended to be more for a clean industry. And of course, market factors themselves will discourage a daycare facility from locating where the clients are not likely to want to bring their children. So that will be, the market will have some effect on that as well. And then also of note is that daycare uses are currently already allowed as an in-house daycare in industry, so, Target, for example, could have an in-house daycare in their facility already, and that is currently allowed. And if we look at the Nordic Drive facility right now, we can use that as sort of a case study. Now, of course, every location is not the same, but in this particular location, there haven't been any issues of concern in over 20 years of operation. So looking at solutions to the issue, of course, is to amend the zoning code to allow daycare uses in the M1 district, and then to consider, what the standards should be for that particular use. And so to establish location setback standards, screening standards, for example, for the outdoor play areas seem reasonable. So staff reported suggested some standards. For example, the principal building setbacks would be, we were proposing to be similar to other uses in the district with a 25-foot front setback, 25-foot rear setback, and 10-foot side setbacks. And then with some standards for the location of play areas and screening and fencing those areas. So with that, this is an introductory meeting to discuss the petition to allow daycare uses in the M1 district. And then the next step on a rezoning like this, a text amendment, would be to set a public hearing for your next meeting. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
All right, thank you, Karen. Any questions for Karen tonight?
Yeah, I have a question. So this is a standalone daycare, is that what you're saying?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and do we have any other M1 zones where we have any daycares that we know of?
I am not aware of any,
Okay.
but we didn't do a broad survey to find out if any others had been allowed over the years, mistakenly.
All right.
I would move to set the public hearing for March 9th and just give a quick comment that it's too bad that this happened some years back, but I'm comforted to hear that there hasn't been any issues for the last 20 years. And would feel that you are correct. We are in dire need of daycares here in the Cedar Valley and here in Cedar Falls, and would love to have the opportunity to have more options for people, young families here that are trying to work and live and provide for their families.
I second that, and I would just agree that quality daycare is such a critical need for this community, and I think this would be a great addition to that area.
Before we do that, is there anyone from the public that would like to speak to this item? I skipped that step.
Sorry.
Your assumptions were correct. There are none. Okay, so we do have a motion and a second on the floor to set the public hearing. We do a voice vote on that?
I think you can just all say aye if you.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that item moves forward, or we set the public hearing for March 9th, 2022. Any commission updates, Karen? That concludes our new business. Anything?
I don't have any updates tonight.
Okay. With that, it's a quick meeting. If anyone wants to adjourn.
I would move that, please.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you, everyone. Have a good night.